Hello and welcome back to the HH Gaming Podcast brought to you by hellhades.com. Today I'm here again with co-host of the show, Paul. We're just going to talk through the week and what we've been up to and things going on with the website and also in Raid Shadow Legends itself. So how's your week been so far, Paul?
Math heavy. I don't know if you've, if anyone's not caught Hell Hades video today, today being Thursday on the Clan Boss Chess Simulator. My brain is ruined from lots of possible equations and simulations and mathematical calculations.
So I haven't actually seen the video. What's it covering?
Yeah, so like we've seen lately, and I think some other content creators have covered it, that there's this suggestion. I'm not saying that they're lying or they're trying to create clickbait or anything, but a lot of people seem to believe or feel like the clan boss changes or the clan boss rewards have changed, and
I'm seeing that a lot. Yeah,
it seems to be a narrative that's being created. So what I wanted to do, and what me and Hell Hades thought would be a good idea, is if we basically ran the math back. We already know from the data mine all of the different weighted opportunities, but the data mine doesn't actually do the calculation for you. So there's a lot of things you have to do to work it out and trying to figure out, and we were able to reproduce it. So what we actually did was build like what I did for Hell Hades is build a simulator that basically emulates the exact way the game will generate rewards for you. Awesome. I'm always against creating simulators. Like for a while now, you've seen like shard simulators.
Yep.
And I always think that they don't add any value because
they're a bit gimmicky, to be honest, rather than actually practical.
Exactly. All they're doing is they're basically just saying, you could have got this champion. It doesn't
but you didn't.
You.
So
yeah.
Sorry.
What I wanted to do with this was actually try and show that variance has such a big impact. So there's on the website now under tools and the Raid Shadow Legends drop down, there is a clan boss chess simulator. And you can run every chest and see the possible outcomes and basically see, if you wanted to simulate an entire month, you could just run it 60 times or something. And you can see just by looking at it how RNG and variance does it.
Oh, cool.
I think one of the things that Hell Hades didn't put in his video was I did run like a 60-day simulation, almost like 60 chest simulations on the top chest.
Yep.
And the variance was crazy. Like one simulation of 60 I had like 4 legendary books still, but the first one had like a 3-week gap between the next two. So it's
wow, okay, yeah.
The amount of times I see people go, I haven't had a legendary book for 3 weeks. It's not like crazy. I mean, in order for me to get back to what the averages should be, so like that the chart kind of says what the averages are, I had to run something like 150 simulations. 150,000 simulations.
Wow. Okay.
So that's that you think like you get 2 chests a day, so like 75,000 days just to get back to the average because of the potential various different things you can get. And there's a lot more variance between sort of an ultimate chest and a transcendent chest because obviously you're getting one extra category, right? You as the video shows, you get in you're going to be guaranteed a book or a shard in the top Ultra Nightmare chest, but when you get to the one below, you're not guaranteed one of those.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more variance.
But something has changed within the code, right? Although the actual outcome.
No, not really.
Necessary. I thought around a month ago or something in a patch, we saw something had changed within the way that it was either calculating or the way that it was being processed.
So what we saw was they actually set all of the probability weights of all the different rewards you can get to 100. Now, my gut tells me there's probably a function within their generator for their static data or their code or whatever that has a default value of 100 in case of a bug. So normally it would generate whatever the weights are, but I'm guessing there was probably an issue with one of them when they changed something. Yeah. Probably when the one thing they did do is they hid the probabilities of the artifacts, right? So basically when you get an artifact, it's a 50-50 chance it's cruel or immortal.
Yeah.
They took that away. And I think when they did that, they also broke the individual weights. So what I ended up doing is, even though the actual weights didn't change in the game, the output of the game itself, the code, the static data that we talk about in terms of data mining.
Yeah.
I think that that had a function where it would default the value to 100 if it couldn't determine a value to avoid the game just crashing and breaking, right?
Right.
That's how code development will manage errors. It will set a default value. That could be null. It could be 100. So a month ago, it went to 100. So we were all like, oh, they must have changed something.
Yeah. The tinfoil hats came out. I'm not getting any legendary books.
Exactly. So, what I asked our clan to do, for context of that video, it's not just based off pure math. I asked our clan, which has got 30 members strong, they all hit Ultra Nightmare, to basically give me about a week's worth of clan boss chest screenshots. So I had about 100 different screenshots that I could definitely prove that every single one was getting a shard or a book. Yep. So it's not just based off pure math. And so what I did when this happened is I asked the clan to, when the change happened a month ago, to just keep sending me screenshots because we weren't sure if they changed something.
Yeah.
I also had one of our team, Never. He's a mod in the main Discord. He spoke directly with Plarium as well, and they confirmed that they hadn't changed anything.
Yep.
And the last patch they did, they returned those variables back, so they probably fixed the problem, right? And that's what I think happened. I said the only thing that's changed is they actually gave you a better chance of getting 6-star legendary in the top chest of Ultra Nightmare artifacts.
Okay.
That's the only thing they changed in the last year.
So it's actually, if anything, it's an improvement.
Absolutely,
rather than
so you got like a 7% more chance now of getting the 6-star legendary, and that's like taken out of the 5-star and the 6-star epics.
Sure.
So that's a good change. I did think, and I was at fault for this, I misled a bit. I thought they had changed the ancient shards. What they'd actually done is there was 2 containers, arrays for anyone who deals with development, that had ancient shard in. One of them was 6 and one of them was 5. And what they did in March is they combined the 2 into 1 and just made ancient shard 11. So they were obviously cleaning up their code. And I was scanning. I was like, this looks different.
That's the thing as well. When we're data mining this information, and every time that we do put information like that out there, we always say it with a massive disclaimer that actually, we can't say for certain that this is fact. Unless it is clearly there as set raw data, but some of these files that you're reading are they're interpreted by other files in the game, and they interact with other parts of the game and things like that, and it's very difficult to say, okay, yeah, this is exactly what they've done without them openly coming out and saying it. When we did the patch note video for science video last week, you said very clearly that you can see that this is here, but they haven't officially said that this is what's happened. So it's very difficult for you to confirm it. And
official being the important word there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's something that people need to bear in mind, with this data mined information that comes out, unless Plarium have actually said that this is what we've done. And don't get me wrong, sometimes they do things which they don't want us to know about. But, there's big brains in the community that can find out about these things. That's just the nature of technology, unfortunately. That's why you see, 13-year-olds hacking government facilities and things like that.
Is fun.
Yeah.
But I think the big difference for people to understand, there is a difference between what I focus in terms of data mining. So a lot of the tools out there, like the auto clickers, they inject code into the game to do what they want, right? So they basically will tell the game what to do. We don't actually do that when we data mine. We just look at the raw data. Now that static data is 100,000 plus lines of different values and variables. Most of it, we can reliably, after a certain while, say, you know what, that works. What it doesn't include is how the game interacts with that data.
Yeah.
So for example,
whether it's pulling data from this table or...
Yeah. So we know, for example, if the effects of a skill are in a specific order, then we can almost guess and with confidence kind of go, that's the order in which they'll do it. So for example, in terms of Ninja, for example, his A2 has 6 different effects. One does attack, one does HP burn, one does attack, one does HP burn, right? So we know he'll do it 3 times because it's in 6 different effects and we know the order it'll do it in. Yep. Until we actually test it in game, there's always a bit of subjectivity around that. Some things are more exact. Stages tool, for example, that we have on the website, which is a really good resource, that's fairly accurate because it interprets based raw numbers converted by values. And then there's basically a table of modifiers that the game applies to certain floors, which is mostly for Doom Tower. So that is fairly accurate. When it comes to things like decision making in the game, So, for example, we know that shards have a fixed percentage chance of giving you an epic.
Yeah.
But the way that it selects the epic is not really in the game data. We have to assume that it's going to be even distribution, right?
That's where it spins the roulette wheel.
Yeah. So some people say I've seen people say there's a bias towards fusion champions. There's no way for me to say yes or no.
No.
Because the game data will give me a list of champions it can pull from, but it won't tell me the way that the game selects it. It doesn't tell me the interaction.
Yeah.
But based on how other things work. So one thing we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks, is we're going to be looking at the impact of 10 times 2 times, and actually what does that mean for your odds? Mm-hmm. We can kind of go, well, okay, using the Forge, the good thing about the Forge is it gives us more information about how the game handles things, right?
Yeah.
So it actually shows what the charm does to the odds, which is what you don't see with the shard data. We never know from the times 10 what it does to the odds. But the way that the weapon works, the weapon's meant to give you double the opportunity for that weapon, right? So if you have like 6 chances, you take and you want one thing from it, you're going to have like a 0.166, I think it is, off the top of my head, which is basically 1 divided by 6, right? So what the game actually does for that is it will go, instead of doing 1 divided by 6, it does 2 divided by 6, because it's saying you've got twice the amount of chance of doing it. So it's putting 2 into the pot. And then what's left of the 100, which is about 0.767777, it divides the remaining 5. So we know from that, we could apply that to the times 10, right? That's the way the times 10 was going to work. It's going to go, okay, well, if I want 1 champion out of 100, that's my 1. If I give myself 10 times the chance, I'm going to have 10 out of 100.
Yep.
Which means then I've got to divide the remaining 99 out of the probability that what is left after I do 10 divided by 100. But we don't know that for certain. There's nothing like when we release this data, like even the clan boss simulator to some extent, we can't say 100% certain that's the way it works, because we don't know until players say yes, or until we see actual gameplay live, which we don't want to see because we know they don't like that in terms of terms and conditions.
As well as that, the chances of them actually confirming this data is even rarer than pulling a legendary from,
of course,
an ancient shard.
There's value in anonymity.
They're not going to do that. So we just have to work on the data that we have and assume that, you know, it's as accurate as we can possibly make it. But as with any kind of data like this, it's never guaranteed. It's it's not a certainty, but it's pretty close.
These results, you know, they're not just me sitting here going, this is how it works, and Hell Hades going, this is how it works. This is me working with Senti, who is math genius, PhD, you know, does a lot of the math for our community in terms of odds, best ways to farm, different things, damage efficiency thing. I kind of apply his math into a user-friendly kind of way, because people don't like reading numbers, which is understandable.
I'm one of them. It's fine.
Yeah. So obviously he's verified it. And then he's also worked based off what Bobo has also done, who's another data miner who does a lot of work for Deadwood. So it's kind of like you've got like 3 or 4 different sources here, all reaching the same conclusion, which kind of means that we can't guarantee it, but we're like 95% certain that's the way it works. And also the results that I'm seeing out of the clan as well, giving me examples of them.
Yeah, so you've got practical data as well to reinforce just the statistical data that you're basing your information on.
So, but I, you know, it was one of those things that I saw a lot of the community coming up again. And what I was trying to do is kind of show, look, you're going to get variance. Like I've got, literally, you look at the comments of that video, you'll see 12 people go, I don't believe you, it's still nerfed. And then you've got 12 people who go, I pulled like 6 legendary books in 4 days, kind of thing. Yeah. You know, it's just the way that it works. If you go on a bad run, you go on a bad run.
Same people that are going to tell you that they've never pulled a legendary and that their account is bugged so that they can't progress in the game and things like that.
And that Hell Hades free to play is not the average account and those kind of things.
I saw that comment last night on the stream, actually.
It's like, okay, you know, I mean, it's just, but it was a fun exercise, because those types of things help you understand the way things, like, it's a very deep probability, and trying to explain it in a layman's terms is actually quite hard, because you need to have a base understanding of how probabilities work. And the average player kind of sees, okay, well, I've got 60% chance I should get 1 in 2. Why haven't I got it? They don't realize they're independent events. They don't
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
that the
yeah. Every
advantages.
single one has 60% or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah. Like I even saw it with the times two. It's like, oh, like I've done 30 runs and I only got two speeds. So I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's like 20% chance. Like you need to run it like 1,000 times. And when we ran the Dragon times two speed, because I saw it was going to happen, we actually collected live data about 3,000 Dragon runs amongst the clan. And it did correlate roughly. You still had some variance, but speed was roughly twice the amount of any other set.
Yeah.
So it works. Just to get rid of all the tinfoil hat theories that we've got out there in the world. Not that I'm,
but I mean,
bugbear.
Unfortunately, with games like this, it's like somebody saying, like there was a Jay Giggs video about a year ago where you
Jay Giggs.
It's like get yourself a guaranteed legendary. You click on the campfire, you do all these things, then go in and you pull your shard. There is so many people. It's like people will only pull shards if they're in a certain channel in the chat because they think that it's going to give them a higher odds. Right? It's conspiracies, guys. It does not make any difference. Pooling your shards and things like that makes no difference. Every single shard has the same chance of yielding a result.
Here's a working example, right? So the last 3 months, my shard luck has been atrocious. I went for the Duchess times 10. I got a grow hack. I went for the Kymar times 10. I think I got a Duke Bistorphus. I went for Alessandra times 10. I got none of the legendaries. Yep. Sacreds last weekend, I pulled 9 or 10 sacreds. I didn't get a single legendary.
I haven't had a legendary from sacreds in a long time.
Right. So I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to bother. Like most people will say, if you're a newer account, don't pull out of times 2. Totally agree. And then they'll kind of say, look, pull in times 10 if you want it, but don't pull shards outside of an event. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to pull shards for who was the Void? Cardiel. I was like, do you know what? I've only got a few. So I pulled it for that. And then I was trying to do the Summon Rush, basically, because I was trying to save myself some tournaments for the Fusion. I didn't really want to do Ice Golem. I didn't really want to do all the others. The last weekend, I managed to pull 3 legendaries and a Void legendary. I only pulled 8 Voids and 3 Sacreds.
Yeah,
there was no boosted odds. They were just times 10.
I mean, the amount of people that I've seen and they're like, oh, I pulled my first Void and I got, Sifi or something like that. It's just like,
oh, I see it all the time. Like, go in the channel, popped my random monthly Void and got like Sifi. I'm like, okay, thanks. I just pulled like 200
I've been
Voids
playing
and I got like a dupe everything.
Going on 2 years now, still don't have her.
But it's actually a funny story. Whenever who's part of our team, he has got like people like Riho, he's got Trunders, he's got all the big champions. He cannot, for the life of him, pull a Seer or a second man-eater.
I know, it's amazing. I actually love it.
It's a running joke.
Because I've got 4 man-eaters on my account, and I always show him them just because.
I actually built 2 more man-eaters just to mess with them.
I've got 2 Seers as well. I think I actually had 3 Seers at one point, but I think I fed one. But
it's just rubs it in. But it's one of those things, right? I mean, you'd think, and I actually say this to a lot of people. Getting the times 10 on Voids are actually better than anything else because the pool of champions is significantly lower. There's not that many Void epics. There's not that many Void legendaries. That's why I think when I was pulling Voids for Gergo, I was like, do you know what? If I land it, there's a very, very high likelihood in terms of like comparatively to normal legendaries that I'm going to get Gergo.
Yeah.
Times 10 Voids are great for that.
And there's significantly less shit ones as well.
Yes.
That's the other good thing about Voids is that the chances of you pulling something that you're going to be disappointed with is so much lower than
I mean, even like the big one for me is like Yakal. I've always been a very strong advocate of Yakal, and I'll get roasted right now for this probably because everyone's going to be saying Yakal is trash, never use Yakal. And yes, he's difficult to use. His numbers are still reasonably okay for a nuker. They're probably not there in terms of like Leorius, the Proud, or other people like that.
Yeah,
but they're serviceable.
Yeah,
and it just proves my point that you look at the top Dark Fae boss right now, and the top team in Dark Fae right now has Yakal in that team. So pretty much every Void legendary I think has some sort of place. Even Vizix now. Vizix is as good, if not better, than Armiga.
Especially since the buff. She does
an 81 30% turn meter reduction. with provoke. She's defense based and she's void, so she doesn't suffer what Armigger does. Yes, you have to burn legendary books. I'm not saying that I'm not saying
Sure, yeah.
throw your Armiggers out and get visits. If you've got the books, you should, because she's way better. But you're seeing now Stu Gaming loves his physics, uses her on a lot of things. She's great into Dark Fae because she's just tankier. She does it regularly. She's good. And, you know,
I think
use her in Doom Tower Floors.
A champion that I think I underestimated. I actually saw Hell Hades build him on stream last night. Solus, who, to be honest, he's one of those champions that just kind of sits there, and it's like he doesn't usually fall into like the top tier category. But when you see how hard he can hit in arena, that was insane.
So it's for people who, when they read a champion and they want to know whether the champion can do damage, right? The thing to remember is if it does a conditional based thing, it's normally going to hit really hard if you can match that condition.
Yeah.
So a good example is, say like you have Fushan, for example, because his second hit is guaranteed every time, non-conditional. They have adjusted his multiplier down because they know he's going to hit twice.
Yeah.
What they don't do with conditional based is do that. So people like Trender are so strong because in their heads they're thinking, oh, well, 3 times multiplier for her attack's probably okay. But if you always hit the conditional where she hits twice, well, you've just doubled your damage. Same thing with Magna. Magna is the exact same thing. When me and Senti were looking at the champions and we were talking about who we think could be a potential one, the one we said was, it's a conditional extra hit. Magna could hit really hard. Turns out he does.
Yeah.
He's as good as a non-attack buff Trunda. But obviously any attack buff based champion will always beat him because of, you know, attack buff.
Yeah.
So people like Draco, A1, Shazar, A1, champions that have like these passive base multiplication effects, they will hit incredibly hard if you can meet those conditions. Solus in a clan boss is like one of the top damage dealers because you can guarantee you're going to get 10 debuffs almost.
Yep.
You put Solus with a Vizier,
absolutely.
He will smack super hard. The defense is really low. So he's basically the best way to I describe him is he's like Draco's A1, but he's AoE.
Yeah.
And his Draco's A1 hits really hard, as everyone knows. Shazar's A1 hits really hard. You know, you can forget Shazar is one of those champions. He can be so many things. He can be an aura bot because he's 32%.
Yep.
Better than any other aura. So if you just want him to give you better speed and you only want to run like a speed booster, Ceres, Nuka in a 3 team, but you just need a better aura, great. You can run him as a bomb champion in arena. Not as viable, but he can work if you can get the accuracy to land it.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, I feel like bombs shouldn't be resisted because, you know, you have to build a lot of attack to get enough damage. They can't crit. Yes, they ignore defense, but then I've got to build the accuracy up to actually land them as well. Like, unless I'm going to run something like a Yoshi with him,
I feel like
it's almost impossible to land.
Somebody who designed bombs upset somebody in Polarium.
Do you know what I actually think? And this is coming from a dev perspective.
Yeah.
When you think about balancing stuff in the game, if you have an ability that ignores defense completely, you've got to be very careful with it. That's why
it's
it doesn't
the fear
crit.
of it becoming broken.
Yeah. So obviously, I did a bomb breakdown video in the HH Gaming YouTube. It's well worth everyone checking it out. But essentially, if they'd made that crit, it would be too much damage. You couldn't mitigate it. If they made it so that it, you know, because they made it ignore defense, you can't really defend against it. It bypasses any defensive mechanics you can do.
Sure.
So it's almost like I think they feared that it would become too broken, you know, like when they made Trunda and they just haven't done anything with it. And now they're almost like anything we do to it is either going to make it way too strong, or you know, it's that's the problem.
Or it's going to stay sort of where it's at
so
now,
few
where it's just kind of not good enough.
Yeah, there's so few. There's 11 effects in the game that can apply a bomb. I think it's 11 or 12 out of a champion pool of 600. I'm not talking champions. I'm talking individual effects that apply a bomb debuff. 11 out of 600 champions. There's about 15 to 1600 skills in the game.
Yeah.
So you're talking a very, very small amount of the game, like effect.
Has there been any new champions?
Grunch is the last one.
Yeah.
Grunch at Christmas time was the last bomb champion they did. They've forgotten about the mechanics, just like they've forgotten about AoE counterattack, because they know how powerful it is. On the AoE counterattack, to some extent, they do it because they want to retain the value of like a Martyr and Valk. They don't want to dilute that. They want to make it so that you something you go for, right? I get that. But I do think even like 3 AoE counterattacks is not enough.
No, I agree.
It's not enough. However, with bombs, I feel like they because it's not a mechanic that they're using, they just don't bother designing around it. Now, I always say some of the suggestions I think you can do to improve it is make bomb damage maybe factor in defense, but make it splash. So if one bomb goes off,
yeah, or even have like
a
a stun or something like that attached to it, or
yeah, you could do it like a bomb or stun. I think that would be potentially. I mean, it could work because as long as you can cleanse the stun or block the stun, it would be fine, right?
Yeah.
And you can resist the stun. So that could work. I think if you left it as ignore defense, that's fine, but make it scale off crit damage in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or make it, don't just fix the defense, or make it so that defensive-based bomb champions scale off defense. Like, you got to do something more than just attack.
Would be cool.
Because you're basically telling me.
Scale off HP.
Yeah, you're telling me my bomb champions have to be squishy. Yeah. Otherwise, they're useless. You know, Shazar for me has to be 5,000 attack because he's only going to do 3.2. So one bomb is only ever going to do, what's basic math on the top of your head, like 5,000, 3.250, like 17,000 damage.
Yeah.
One bomb. I know he applies 2, but 32,000 damage is not going to kill a Siphi.
No, it's not. It's not enough damage. When you've got champions who can do AoE of 160, 200,000.
It's really difficult to build because you actually have to. It's a bit like the problem people have with Bommel right now. They haven't prioritized resistance because outside of Plat Arena, resistance is pointless.
Yeah.
And now that we've got Doom Tower and Doom Tower hard bosses, people are starting to realize, actually, I need resistance. But they've been throwing it away because they've never needed it before. So now they've got a boss that's right at the start of the Doom Tower, and they're going, to beat this boss, you need resistance.
Yeah,
and everyone's
boys.
Like,
get farming.
I don't have it. Now, for someone in my position where I've got a bit lucky with resistance rolls on amulets and things, I'm okay. And also because I've been building 3v3 defenses, I'm trying to get into Gold 1. So resistance is something I've been looking at. But even when they released champions like Yoshi, they kind of said to you, why bother resistance in Plat Arena? So it's kind of like, unless you been farming ages for Plat, you're not going to have the resistance gear. So it's kind of like when you're building a bomb champion, you're not going to have attack amulets because why do you need flat stat attack? You'd want crit damage.
Yeah.
Well, crit damage is useless for bombs. You know, crit rate for Shazar is important because that's how he places his bomb, right? But other than that, that crit rate does nothing. The only thing that actually improves his A3 damage from a bomb perspective is its attack. I think that's just too narrow. You can't even use masteries to increase the bomb damage. It's just too narrow. Even the books you do on the scale don't increase the bomb damage. It's so fixed. So I think all they need to do with bomb mechanics is straightforward. Make it splash damage. Make it more variable in terms of what stat you rate you base it off of. Or start doing things like bomb sets. Give me a bomb set that increases my bomb damage by 100%.
That would be cool. That would be very cool, actually.
So if I've got a bomb champion, I'm going to use the bomb set.
Yeah.
It might be a bit narrow for the moment, but add more bomb champions into it. You can do lots of cool mechanics.
Accuracy and bomb damage set.
Yeah, you could do something like, I don't know, anytime someone places a HP burn, reflect back bombs. Or anytime convert, like, I don't know, increase accuracy to bomb. Do stuff like that and makes it fun. You already see some champions that basically convert continuous HP into poisons and HP burn. You know, continuous heals. Just do something like that. Just change it up a bit and make bombs useful. If you want to make bombs in PvE and PvP more variable, then that's fine. You can basically say, make it so that if the bomb hits a boss, it does like 100% more damage, like they've done with Bommel. But we've seen already, they designed a mechanic around bombs in a boss, and everyone's gone, well, it hits too hard, so I can't use a bomb champion. And 200% is not worth me sacrificing the reviving because it doesn't do enough damage.
No, sure.
The only viable strategy you've got is deflection set. So you have to rely on something that is like 20% conditional to send his bombs back.
Yeah, because his are powerful and yours are not.
Well, it's not that they're more powerful. It's PvE content, which means the enemy waves you're facing have incredible amounts of attack. The numbers that we can't really truly get. You know,
that's what I mean. Sorry, this.
Yeah, you're talking like 15,000 attack, and he'll use his default bomb multiplier, which I think off the top of my head is not changed. I don't think he's got a custom multiplier, so it's 5 times attack. So his bombs, then you do a 200% multiplier. You basically, when you hit him with that, you're hitting him as if you're critting.
Yeah,
better then. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the whole, like, you can see how impactful something is, right? They changed crit increase Decreased crit damage debuff. That used to just take 30% off your actual flat stat, which is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
If you've got a 250%, 220%, it's nothing. Now it takes a 30% off the total. You're taking a Trender's 250% down to like 187. That's quite big. That could be the difference between you surviving or not. So someone like Whirling for me has increased in a lot of value because his A2 does decreased crit damage now, which is actually going to stop the nuclear from hitting me, alongside decreased accuracy, which is a very valuable arena tool. And those can't be resisted.
Yeah.
So you're giving really high priority debuffs, which is really good. I mean, if you think, it's not that far off decreased attack in terms of its value now, I think.
Right.
So something as simple as that has made a big difference. So I don't see why they can't just give bombs a proper attempt at doing it.
Maybe they've still got something up their sleeve for it. I feel like they keep like moving in the direction that they're sort of, starting to wake up to it, and then they sort of pull back, and the community's like, well, actually, that's not going to work. So what do we do now?
I think they saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really think it through because they were like, it's a bomb champion that does bombs. So why don't we make it so the bombs do more damage? And it was misleading, really, because if you're one of the players,
we all thought that was the way to go, didn't we? Everyone was hyped that, finally these
get
bomb
your War
champions
Mothers out of the
coming
vault,
out.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if I'm a player that's 60 to War Mother, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you tell me bombs are going to matter when you've overtuned I say overtuned. You've made the tune of the boss so difficult that if I bring an attack-based champion, they are going to get one shot.
Yeah.
And you can't get resistance without sacrificing. So I've had to, on my build, I've had to sacrifice crit rate. And I've had to sacrifice some defensive capabilities to be able to get the resistance number needed to just stop the bombs going off all the time. Because once the bomb goes off, you're almost dead. It's just too much.
Yeah, so, it's brutal. And you can see that. And even at the early levels of Doom Tower, it's just insane. Like floor 10.
We had experienced players in our clan who have done all of 120 hard.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
didn't
even know where to start. Yeah. And it's all because they've gone, I don't have resistance gear. So I'm like, if you want some top tips from this podcast, guys, get deflection, put resistance substat in the forge, and just that's all you do for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Because that will help you farm it. There are some, like, we should call up like people generating solo strategies, like the latest one's Crimson Helm. But you do have to manual for 25 minutes. So if you just want to do it once, it's fine. But Samar's probably
I can't manual for 2.5 minutes. I just don't have the time in the day. But even then,
what we're noticing is regen sets are very valuable for people. Go farm them. Pick sets you don't keep.
Yeah.
Regen, deflection. They are actually
I guess that's one thing that they're pulling sets back into the meta that were just discarded previously. So
yeah, because I think the content's harder, right? So previously, like you think Dungeon 25s, they didn't make all they did is they scaled the attack and defense and HP, right? They didn't make it so that they hit, so they were faster, or you needed more accuracy. So all people did in the end was they just basically went, okay, I'll just go and pump more damage. But when you get to Doom Tower, where they've got higher accuracies and everything, you can't just one-shot everything as an endgame player. So that's when regen starts becoming valuable. I don't think regen was ever a bad set. It was just not necessary.
At that
if you want a solo content now, it's almost like I've got a ninja and an LNR that does Griffin. Regen is essential for that build.
Yeah,
if I haven't got regen, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there's also some other sets. Like I'm going to be doing a science video soon on Frenzy set with a gold champion. And just kind of, it's a set that nobody ever thinks about using, but actually when you see the raw numbers, it's kind of crazy what it does and how valuable it can be.
Yeah.
So
moving on a little bit, are you planning on pulling shards tomorrow? And if so, who are you hoping for?
Well, let's see. I have a grand old 5 void shards. And
yeah,
in that
I think I've got about 7. So
I'm praying for one champion and one champion only.
Yeah.
Can you guess what it is?
I don't know what you've got. So I mean, I know what
he loves a paint pot. He's only just been added, and he's basically the king of PvE content. Better than Bad L in some respects.
Oh, mate, you're putting me on the spot here.
This is fiction level knowledge, this.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm just looking for Sifi. All right, okay, yeah, cool.
Uragrim, if any player wants it, like if you've got your man-eaters and your seers and you haven't got an Uragrim, that's what people should be pulling for. don't worry about your
Krisk.
Siffies and all your other Void legendaries. He is as good for what he does as pulling a Siffy. Dramatic statement. He can literally solo all your PvE 25 content.
Yeah.
Ice Golem, Dragon. He can do Fire Knight with some Allure turn meter control because he's got a triple hitter.
Yeah.
Okay, you would never use him in Spider, but in terms of the main two content that people like, especially Ice Golem, that people hate, he just like, it's like whatever. I'll poison the boss. I mean, I'm using Richtoff in Dragon at the moment. It's really difficult because he's just a little bit squishy, right? But it's continuous heals. He's just a beast. There's so many videos out there from content creators. If you haven't got yourself an Eurogrim,
I want you to screen record your
5.
Yeah, your 5 shards.
Mate, I'll probably just get like 5 rares now. I think I've blown all my shard luck for the next quarter.
It'll be 3 cold hearts, 2 bellowers, you know.
He's just literally, I would say to anyone, if they pull an Urgrim this weekend, he should be a next 60. He's just so good.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, he's got great base stats. He's got a 20% aura. Even if you don't want him to solo content and you're a newer player, 20% aura is huge. You know, until you get HK, High Katoon, 20% aura is massive.
Yeah.
And even with High Katoon, like it's 1% better. People don't realize how much of a mismatch you can get in an aura. Like I can guarantee if I'm running Arbiter and I go against a Lissandra, who's 24%, I will win every time in the speed race.
Yeah.
Because the difference in speed is too big. So that 1% can make a difference. But yeah, he's amazing. Like single target cleanse, he's got poisons for days. Honestly, him and when Darkhail comes out, him and Darkhail, amazing.
I'm actually really looking forward to Darkhail. I think Kale's always been one of my favorite champions in the game. So
for me,
definitely
little science hint for everyone here. Darkhail should go into anyone's killable comp in Clan Boss.
The killable, right? Okay.
The killable, because of his passive. His passive will normalize damage because he will always have poisons out there, and he will decrease the crit rate of the Clan Boss by 15%. All the PvE content, except for Griffin, is 15% crit rate. Griffin, obviously, using his Sky Bonds, can get more crit rate. That's why he starts hitting harder.
Got you.
He will make it so the Clan Boss can never crit. And normally what fails your killable runs is the Clan Boss crits on someone.
Yeah, just randomly somebody falls over.
Yes. He will remove that completely while still being an incredible poisoner with poison sensitivity. If you're running a Brogni comp or you're running any comp that's not unkillable, he should go straight into that comp as your poisoner. He's so good. He even brings decreased attack and he increases debuffs. It's like
he's just basically geared up to replace Kale.
Yeah. he doesn't nuke as hard as Kale in Arena.
Yeah,
his A2 is close, but it's not the same. Traditional Kale will nuke harder, I think. But yeah, Dark Kale, I'm actually quite surprised how really good the Doom Tower epics are.
Yeah,
they all have a place.
They kind of have to be because of the amount of time that it takes to get them. I feel like
I think the legendaries though were more disappointing.
Yeah,
like Thea is a strong AoE nuker, but you need to pair her with like a Ruel or a Cleopteryx. Now, it's great that we're getting Cleopteryx for free for everyone. I know a lot of people hate the fact that we're not getting Sacred Shards. I understand. But at least Cleopteryx enables Thea. Cleopteryx can enable Ruel. Ruel is another strong AoE nuker. Probably it's even stronger than Trunder if you can maintain the Hex debuffs.
He's very cool.
Which a lot of people don't see in Arena because obviously the setup is more complicated, but he's way and above Trunder. Like we're talking like nearly double the damage of a Trunder.
Yeah, you can't really auto him though, can you? Because
yes, with Cleopteryx.
Oh yeah. But I mean, as he stands right now,
you can get it so
I
that
had a
he's
lot
okay.
of fun playing with him when I first got him, but then I just realized it was easier for me to run my blender comp.
That's the problem with him is he needs setup, right?
Yeah,
and also his Spirit Affinity and a couple of other things, which is problematic. But when you have a secondary, like two Ruels together is lethal. Cleopteryx and Ruel. But Thea kind of gets forgotten out of the three because she does nuke really hard. I think people like content creators did a video on him, like they were expecting her to hit hard. I mean, I was like, she's hitting for 400,000 guys. I mean, 400,000 AoE is pretty hard. Not many champions can do that.
Yeah, no, that is Yeah,
But what I'm saying is when you think of the epics, you've got Helmet. Helmet is great. Probably top 5 epic in the game for me.
he is very good. Yeah.
AoE stun. If it doesn't stun, decrease turn meters. 3 buffs can feed your Seer. It's all high priority offensive buffs. He's immune to turn meter controls. He gets turn meter back on his A1, so he cycles really fast. Really, really good champion. You've got Akoth, AoE HP burn without books. Just as good as anyone else. Affinity wise, as long as you can work with affinity, he got me from Spider 20 to 25, apart from that one floor where he was negative affinity. But you don't need books, great. So if you haven't got an AoE HP burn, like all I had is Ultimate Gaelic, he's your AoE HP burn, great. And then Rian the Conjurer is basically like Madame Ceres on her A2, on a 3-turn cooldown. You don't get the decreased defense, but a lot of champions don't need it now. They can, if you take Savage set, it's 25%, Helm Smasher, that's another 25%. You're already at reducing half the defense already. So you're already nearly at the decreased defense value. So you don't necessarily need decreased defense for really hard nukers. She's got a revive, A1 block buffs, probably up there with top 20 epics in the game.
Yep.
But when you then look at legendaries and you go, okay, Urost can solo stuff. Great. Am I going to use him outside of Skolo and Scarab? Well, you can use him in Clan Boss, I guess. He's a really good legendary. But when I'm sitting, I'm thinking, does he have as big enough impact as the epics? No, I don't think he has. Thea doesn't. If you want an AoE nuke, there's so many.
She does look really cool though.
Yeah.
That's the side that I'm looking at. It's like, yeah, but she looks awesome, doesn't she? So
and then you get to what you were saying is, how long does it take me to get these champions? So
yeah,
I'm halfway towards getting Urost, and I'm an endgame player, I would say now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super endgame, but I'm doing all the dungeons at 25 that I want to do. I'm doing Doom Tower Hard 120 every
where else is there for you to progress apart from maybe Platinum Arena?
I can hit 150 mil on the clan boss in one key if I wanted to. It's so I'm at that point and I'm only at 50, and I actually worked out before they moved the mission it would take me to the end of the year just to get Gomlock.
Yeah, now
Gomlock is really good, especially against Dark Fae, because he's got a 2-turn 60% turn meter.
Well, the end of the year is not long now, to be fair.
Well, as if I do every single secret room, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to grind out rare spirits.
No,
it's just not worth my effort.
No. That's understandable.
That's what people should do. Really, is why would I invest so much resources to trying to get rare secret room? It's only if you're like super endgame, you've got nothing better to do that you can do that. Otherwise, there's always bound to be things at the moment, especially like we have to re-gear champions all the time for Bommel, Dark Fae.
Yeah, and especially now you're at the point where you're looking at changing masteries as well, just to be able to get through Bommel and things like that.
You're building up champions, duplicates to do it.
It's getting bad, but at the same time, it keeps it interesting. It keeps us busy trying to find new strategies to get through these things.
But my problem is now, like I'll probably get Gomlock January if I'm efficient. How long is it going to take me to get Vassal of the Seal? Like, seriously, it's going to take me
a while.
I'm probably not going to get Vassal of the Seal. I don't even know what faction he is. What is he? Demon Spawn, right? Because he's the last one.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be pointless by the time you get him, because what we know with the game is it's a power creep. Champions that were released a year ago are still reasonable, but they're not, you get natural power creep. They're not as good as champions that are coming up now.
Yeah. And is it exciting getting him when you've had to wait so long? It's like...
Well, I think it's just like excitement in getting him. It's just that you lose the excitement when you realize, what can I do with him?
Yeah.
Like, what does he do? So, like, you think, okay, well, he's got a HP burn on his A1.
I guess it's more of a flex as to how long you played the game, the fact that you've got him.
I mean, he does have a 3-turn AoE, True Fear, and Decrease Attack, which is nice.
Yeah.
And he's got a balance of the HP of all allies and gets an extra turn on a 4-turn cooldown, which is nice. And like, I just don't, I look at his kit and I'm thinking, what am I going to do with him? Mm-hmm. Or what can he do?
What can he do for you?
My other champions can't do. I've got a Salad that can do AoE True Fear. I mean, I've got a Shamael that can do an AoE True Fear because he'd kill anyone.
Yeah.
Like, he's not bringing anything. And by the time you get him, you think of the amount, like, if I'm a new player right now, I've got to go through 6 champions legendary to get him from scratch. Mm-hmm. I can get 36 fragments a month, a rotation. I need basic math here, 3 months roughly per champion.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12, 80 or 15, about 18 months before I even get Vassal of the Seal in this game.
It's a bit like the argument that with the Doom Tower gear that you almost need the gear from the boss to kill the boss. And by the point that you've completed Doom Tower hard for 3 months or 9 months, you don't actually need the champion anymore. So
No.
It's a bit redundant. But yeah, anyway,
I think they just should have let us choose. Like Hell Hades has said this, like let us choose the champion we want to pick.
I think that would be the best way to do it. You've got you know which champion you're working towards, and that's the one that you prioritize first.
To be honest, I might actually sit here and I think, you know what, I don't need Rian the Conjurer because I already have Ceres, so she doesn't bring any more value. But you know what, I actually quite fancy having, pulling the champion Tyre, who's the last one of the epics, right?
Yeah.
Because she's got a triple hit of poison and I need an A1 decrease accuracy as a theory, right? So I might sit there and go, you know what, that champion for me would be such a game changer right now, but Rian the Conjurer is just another Ceres.
Yeah.
So instead of me having to wait and go through Gwyneth and then get to Tyre, can't I just pick Tyre? I just want to pick Tyre, and then I'll pick the next one.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick the one after that. And I might not do Rian the Conjurer until I finished all of them.
No.
But at least then I can choose. Like I might want Vassal of the Seal. I might have wanted Uros before I wanted Thea because I need something to solo Scarab.
Some strategy into picking the right champion.
I think it just makes it feel more rewarding, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
I think it's just one of those things that it could have been done better in hindsight, but it is how it is now. So
what you find is players at the end game then kind of don't bother with it, and you already see that. Like Hell Hades has said this a couple of times. Like I'm bothered with that because it's going to take me so long to get the champion of any interest. Mm-hmm. I'm just not going to bother.
Yeah,
like I don't need them, so therefore I'll do them if I can be bothered and I'm there to do it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to build a rare spirit attack only team to beat one room to get 3 fragments. It's not worth my time and effort because it's still going to take me months to get a champion. And some of those legendaries are good. I just think that the epics are way better than the legendaries for what they do.
Sure.
They have more impact, like you've got Val the Destroyer, I think is another one. He's going to hit really hard because of his passive is like ninjas, right? It increases attack every time. So he can get an extra 100% attack.
Yeah.
But he's not better than Ninja in that sense. Like, he's going to take Ninja's spot, and he's not going to take that spot. So he's not going to have as big an impact as the epics are going to have. Like Gomlock, for example, he is an AoE. I'm pretty sure he's an AoE decreased attack and decreased defense, AoE decreased defense and weakened champion, which a lot of players would go, if I haven't got Draco, I haven't got Lydia, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But just like Venus kind of gets removed once you get Lydia, by the time you've got Gomlock, you've probably got Lydia, let's face it.
Yeah, it's true.
So why are you ever going to pick him? The only
or
way
if you haven't is just because you haven't pushed hard enough.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, the only thing you would pick Gomlock for is that A2, which is a 2-turn, 50% turn meter steal, which is huge for someone like Dark Fae.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're not sitting there and going, he has huge impact everywhere in the game. Like someone like Helmet, for me, if a new player gets to Doomtown, gets all 30 rooms done, and they put Helmet, he'll go into all your comps. Because he just helps control waves. He helps keep you buffed. You can put him in a clan boss if you want him to go faster and you want to get your team going. He's got increased speed. He just has so much more impact than a champion that does something that Lydia already does. And then a turn meter drop, the Cold Heart can do just with more. If you put a reflex on Cold Heart, you're probably doing it just as much. I don't know.
So
rant over.
On that note, there's certainly some food for thought there. But however, I have just noticed that it is 3:10 and I've got children to pick up, so we're gonna have to wrap up the podcast there, I'm afraid. But as ever, guys, if you do enjoy the content, please do make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the For Science videos and also the rare only challenge, which the next video will be going up on Sunday. But yeah, until next week, guys, we will see you on Friday for I think it's the last podcast before the launch of New World.
Ooh, New World. Aren't we excited?
We have some fun announcements for next week's podcast. Let's leave it as that.
Yes.
And thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next video.